many see the difference here? The secret, though, to this only works if, when you get that person, you can truly what?
Convert.
You got to deliver. If you can really deliver, you can make these offers. The very thing we did the other day. We made the offer. We just make it more and more and more compelling because you know you're going to deliver. And when you get that, that's how you stand out from anybody else, and that's how you get the phone ringing.
Well, humbly, I deliver. Delivery is not my problem.
Okay.
It's figuring out what the irresistible offer has to be and how to...
But how do you figure? How does anybody figure that out, by the way? Frank's going to go away, I'll go away, everybody's going to go away. How are you going to find the most irresistible offer? How? Well, you do is test, but the first thing is you just brainstorm and find somebody before you even test anywhere else and say, would this make you call? How many would pick up the phone for a 5 to 10% discount? Raise your hand. One person out of 1,000, out of 900. How many pick up the phone if I can get a 10% discount forever? Just out of curiosity, anytime. See if that does it. How many pick up the phone if you say, listen, I'll evaluate any other diamond you have, and I'll beat the price, or I'll send you a gold bracelet for your lady at some stage. Let me see a show of hands. Which, by the way, we just added something. Evaluate any other diamond you're putting out there. So now I've got a trusted expert who, if they don't deliver for me, I get something no matter what. And we just got 90% of the room to raise their hand. All we changed, how much does that cost, by the way, to make that change in his business?
Nothing.
Zero. Changing an offer costs nothing. This is where you make 1,000, 10,000% chance. We're talking about optimizing, right? This optimization is the part to go from leads to people that actually engage with you, right? The equivalent of the appointment or having the meaningful conversation. So all you've got to do is start to say, guys, I can change my business 500%, 1,000%, 30%, 40%. But what I understand is the greatest investment I've got is the X factor of my intelligence, my creativity, my sitting down and brainstorming. You don't have to be the genius to do it. You can go hire somebody like Frank and bring somebody in to do it. Or you can just sit down and go, you know what? I'm going to stop being a goddamn business operator who's running like crazy in my business. I'm going to step out and be the business owner and go, what will produce this result? That was the goal of these 5 days.
You are actually one of the 3 people I've been wanting to get on the show since I started the School of Greatness.
I'm complimented. Thank
you were one of them, Will Smith, and,
That's awesome.
and The Rock.
I know them both. They're great people. Great people.
All 3 of you are extremely inspiring, and you're just up to such big things in the world.
Yeah.
And that's what the School of Greatness is all about. So I'm very excited to talk about your new book.
Thank you.
Money Master the Game. I am a very slow reader, and I've only probably read 4 books cover to cover. One's The Alchemist.
Yeah, great book.
One's The 4 Hour Work Week, and I'm almost finished with yours.
Okay,
I'm in like
this is quite an accomplishment then.
It's a huge accomplishment for me.
It's a big book for anybody.
It's a huge accomplishment, but so interesting. And I feel like I've done a pretty good job of earning a lot of money over the last few years.
Yes.
When before, I never knew how to make money.
Yeah.
I was an athlete.
Yeah.
I was trying to make it to the NFL. That was my only focus, was playing sports. I never learned about how to make money.
Yeah.
So when I was able to dive into this and really learn the ins and outs of making money, but actually allowing money to make money for you.
Yeah, exactly. Make money while you sleep.
Make money while you sleep. It was so interesting, and I feel like I've done a good job of making money over the years, but there's so much more in here that I'm like fascinated by.
Well, it's interesting because I did the same thing. You know, I come from a very poor background, and we had no money for food at times, quite literally, and it was rough. So I want to make sure money wasn't an issue for my future family. So I figured out how to make money, and I figured when I was 23, I figured how to make $1 million in a year. I went from 38,000 to $1 million, and you don't do that by some new strategy. It was a psychological shift as well as a strategy shift.
Right.
But then I made the same amount of money for 7 straight years, even though I built a dozen more companies. I helped more people than ever. But it was like unconsciously, well, you want more than $1 million? What are you greedy? and I was actually staying, where was I? I was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I arrived at 2 o'clock in the morning on my birthday. I didn't have a private plane, so I had to go like 4 different connections from where I was. And I get in this place, and it's a horrible place, and I call my kids, and I'm talking to this woman on the phone named Maria, who used to run my house and take care of my kids. And I said, Maria, I'm sorry it's so late, but I want to talk to my kids. Oh, happy birthday. She gives me this whole thing. And then she walks me to Mr. Robbins, she says, I never dreamed I'd live in a castle, because I have a place called the Delaware Castle. And I just want to thank you. I feel like a princess. She goes, last night I was sitting in your jacuzzi looking out at the water and thinking how lucky I am, and I'm in the Ramada Inn in those days, looking at this moose head going, this woman is really rich. So I finally decided, listen, if I can make 38,000 to $1 million, it's not about money, it's like growth. So I went, I want to make $3 million, but I want to make more of it while I sleep. But then I really began to realize it doesn't matter how much money you make. It's really your capacity to take your creativity and stop trading time for money. It's the worst trade in the world. Everybody's a financial trader. Yeah. They don't realize they're a trader. They're trading time, and you can't get more time. So this book is how to take anybody, an average person, a millennial just getting out of college with a bunch of debt and saying, how do I really make this work? Or a baby boomer saying, how do I still retire? And the way I did it was I said, I want to interview 50 of the most brilliant financial people in the world. Because most people don't know that I've been working with Paul Tudor Jones, one of the top 10 financial traders in history, for 21 straight years, and he hasn't lost money in 1 year in 21 years.
Right.
We made money in the tech blow up that happened in 2000 and 9/11. In 2008, when the market was down 51% from top to bottom, he made 28% positive. Right.
Incredible.
So every day, literally, he emails me. I monitor him. I come see him. I work with him, and he pays me 7 figures a year to be able to do this, and I've been able to continually help him go to the next level. But quite frankly, I've learned more from him, I think, than I could ever teach him.
Right.
And he helped me open these doors. So this book is the best from every self-made billionaire that I could find. Carl Icahn, I mean, I'm sitting down with this guy. He just made $2 billion in the last 18 months off a $30 million investment off Netflix. He sent an email or a tweet out about Apple saying it was undervalued, and became, and 2 hours later, it was worth 17 billion more by a tweet.
Wow.
So the people I've got to hang with over the last 3-4 years have been, I've got a PhD in finance from the people controlling the world's finance. And what I've tried to do is, the reason I did that is make it simple, bring it so I could train anybody else. Because in this business, what you don't know will hurt you financially. So I want to know how to protect people and how to help people maximize. And that's why I did the book.
It's incredible. And what I want to know is why we weren't taught these things growing up.
Me too.
So much about you is your energy and your passion and your stamina. I mean, you've been doing this for over 3 decades, and I know everybody watching
Actually getting closer to 4.
which is awesome. It's so incredible.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I so admire is I feel like you keep getting better. You keep doing more. You
Yes.
keep serving on a higher level. And from a personal, just stamina standpoint, tell us a little bit about what you do every day. What are your habits? How do you keep yourself at this high level of service?
Well, I think there's the physical side of it, which I do the equivalent of an ultra marathon every weekend. I do 52 hours. On the last day, I did 26.5 miles. The previous day, 22 miles. So just the physical side, you have to be in incredible shape. And I'm in better shape physically today, both my endurance, my muscular strength, and so forth, than when I was 25, which is wonderful. And so I do certain things for that. But I think I should mention first, what's even more important is the psychological, spiritual side of things, because I think energy comes first, not from your body. It doesn't come from eating. It doesn't come from sleeping, because I've gone without those things for long periods of time and still been able to deliver. It comes from having a mission. It comes from something that you're being pulled by, not something you're pushing on. Those are 2 forms of motivation. You can push yourself to do things, and there's only so much you can push yourself to do. But if you're pulled, if there's something that you want to serve that's greater than yourself, there's something that excites you, if there's something that you're about, something you're made for, then there's a level of energy that most people would never dream of. And we all have that, but most of us don't connect to it and unleash it. So every day I connect and unleash that every single day. I don't hope it's going to be there, even though I know it will be, even though it's there. I don't take it for granted. And so I start out with my day by a process I do called priming. And what priming is, it's not a meditation, but it has meditative qualities. And what I do is I sit down. The first thing I do in the morning, I go and I jump in a hot tub or a hot water type of experience, and then I go to a freezing water. All my homes, I'm fortunate enough to have multiple homes, that I go, one of them I have a river I get to jump in. You've been there.
Yeah.
There are other places I have these cold plunges. And I do that to train my nervous system to go from 0 to 60 like that. Every muscle, every nerve in your body, every organ gets, when you hit 57-degree water, it hits. And so it's just my mental discipline. Then the second thing I do is I prime. And priming is I sit down and I do a minimum of 10 minutes, because my mindset is, if you don't have 10 minutes, you don't have a life.
Right.
So there's no excuse. So every day, sit down, and what do? I do 3.5 minutes where I do an explosive breathing pattern, a pattern that changes my biochemistry. And after I've done that, 30 of these intense breaths 3 times, I close my eyes and I'm kind of in an altered state, and I focus first for 3.5 minutes on just everything in my life, at least 3 things that I'm really, truly grateful for. And I don't do that in a hokey way. I don't do it in a mental way. I step into my body and feel it, and I make sure at least one of those things is something really simple. The wind against my skin, the look on my son's eyes or daughter's eyes, something that is just very fundamental, but I cultivate that feeling of gratitude, of appreciation for those feelings. And I do it for 3.5 minutes. Then I do 3.5 minutes where I do this process of focusing on healing, strengthening, and serving. And I start in a circle, starting with myself, and then I go through all the people in my life and associates, and I just send love to them. Again, it may sound corny, but to me, it's a part of what I'm here for. And it's a part of cultivating that energy, that healing and strength energy, and strengthening my passion, my appreciation, my insights, my capacity, my endurance. And then I do the last 3 minutes are what I call 3 to Thrive, which is what is it that I really want to make happen? And sometimes I do that over what I'm going to do for the next 6 months or month, and sometimes it's today. I shake it up. But I see and feel and own that those things are done. And that starts, pretty much my day between those 2 items. And, then I have my workouts and things that I do of that nature.
Yeah. And how about eating wise? Has that changed for you a lot over the years?
It's pretty simplistic. I'm very simple. I eat salad and I have some protein. I have fish or I'll have turkey bacon. I don't eat red meat or chicken, but those are the things that I have usually in the morning, and my afternoon, evening meals are pretty simple as well. But, before I met my wife, Sage, she's been the greatest gift of my life. When we first met, she's a phlebotomist and a nutritionist and acupuncturist, so I thought this is going to be the easiest thing in the world. And I'll never forget, we went on this date and she had a wheatgrass juice, and I was like, wow, this is going to be so easy, man. This is awesome. And then she ordered a hot fudge sundae, and I was like, what in the hell are you doing? And she goes, eating, you bastard. I should give some term around bastard that I was like too rules driven. And so she had this whole thing, you zig and then you zag. So I do that with her now. I do enjoy other aspects of life, but when I first met her, I noticed she zigged a lot more than she zagged, or the other way around, I don't know which one it was, but it's been a nice balance in my life. So I enjoy food and things of that nature, but I use food mostly as fuel because life gives me so much juice. I'm not looking to get out of food usually.
And how about, because I know for me, my mind can go.
So you write this book about money. I never thought of you as a money guy.
Yeah.
Except that maybe you made some money over the years, hopefully. Why did you do this? What happened?
When 2008 happened, I just seeing people lose half of their entire net worth overnight, watching people lose their homes, and I wanted to do something about it, and I knew I didn't have all the answers. I have unique access. You know that I work with Paul Tudor Jones for the last 21 years.
What is it that you do for him?
Look, I've been able to help him systematize and more maximize. Just like an athlete would have a great coach, that's what I really do for Paul.
Help me with this. There are people who are believers. I know friends of yours, people who have been to your seminars, who live and die and breathe for Tony Robbins.
I don't know if they live and die and breathe for Tony Robbins.
But there are others who have, there are other people perhaps who haven't experienced it.
Yes.
Who are skeptical. They say, how could it be this guy's a magician? I don't get it.
Yes.
So what is it?
People have large bullshit meters today. I do, you do. And we tend to think it's all bullshit. But there are patterns that control the way you think and feel. And think about it, whether you're performing in sports, or whether it's government, or whether it's in the financial markets, or whether it's in your relationship, as much as we want to think it's just the way we think, our emotions play a huge role in our performance, or lack thereof. And I know how to help people make a shift in their psychology.
You're talking about the financial crisis before,
Yes,
and I
yes.
was thinking, in the post-financial crisis world, we talk a lot about how do you re-incentivize people on Wall Street or elsewhere to do the right things and make the right decisions. How much do you think compensation plays a role in all this stuff?
Depends on the person, right? Everyone has different models of the world. Some people are driven by money, some people aren't. But I will say I think there's 3 things that will, quote, motivate somebody, right? There's push motivation, trying to make somebody do something, and then there's pull. Another one's incentives. Incentives are fantastic for certain people, and everybody appreciates them, but the problem with an incentive is there's only so much you can give out of the margin of a business. The most powerful incentive I know is autonomy and growth. The sense that I become more, that I can give more, that I can create more. I always say to people, if you want to know where happiness comes, I give it to you in one word: progress. Progress equals happiness. We're not supposed to sit at the table of success and just feel good about ourselves forever. What makes us feel alive is growing, and when we grow, we have something to give.
This is going to sound completely off topic. If you could go to Washington, D.C. and try to fix things and fix the culture, is there something that you would do?
I had a conversation with President Obama, who I voted for, before the second election, and it was in Silicon Valley. The president came and said, I'm not here to do a speech. And he said, I want to learn from all of you. And I looked around for somebody else to do something. Nobody did. So I said, Mr. President, I said, I want you to know I supported you, but I don't know if I can vote for you the second time, and I'd like to. So I wonder if you could answer the question, how are you going to govern when you split the nation? I know you're going to say the other side's that way, but you're a leader. Leaders go first. And the president took a little breath in, and everybody started staring at me because they all paid $250,000 to be in the room. He and I went back and forth, for no exaggeration, about 25 minutes. The president came up to me afterwards, shook my hand, and when he went to grab my hand like this, I grabbed his hand, I pulled him forward, and I said, Mr. President, I'm not some stupid Republican, I'm an independent. We share more in common than you know, but if you're going to be able to govern in the second half and get things done, you're going to have to change your approach and your message where you can connect with the other side. And I let go of his hand. And he stood at me and looked at me for a moment, And I thought, he just thinks I'm an idiot. And he said, come to the White House. We'll spend an hour one-on-one, and we'll talk exactly about this. But a few days later, the Romney campaign called and said, we're getting ready for this first debate, and would you be willing to sit down? And so,
What did you do with Romney?
that's private, because that's a private session, but got him ready for that debate so that he owned himself completely. And I never got that invite after that to go to the...
Wow.
I
Oh, wow. Wow.
know. Sway, I'm gonna start crying.
I'm
Save
about to
me.
start crying. Are you kidding me? He's on our show. I was reading up about Tony Robbins. He's coached and inspired more than 50 million people from over 100 countries. More than 4 million people have attended his live events. Oprah Winfrey calls him superhuman.
That's nice.
What does that mean to be superhuman in Oprah's eyes?
I don't know.
Wow. Tony Robbins is here, ladies and gentlemen. Tony Robbins is on Sway in the Morning. What does this mean? Have the B?
It
We made it.
means
We made
we've
it.
arrived.
We've arrived.
Live radio.
I
That
remember.
means I've arrived. I got to be here with you.
Oh, thank you, Tony. I appreciate that. Remember early on, some of the first time seeing you on Oprah, in fact, and other programs, and being a kid growing up in Oakland, a lot of times, a lot of the conversation I didn't necessarily relate to.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course.
Especially self-help
Yes.
based conversation, self-motivation, how to get off that couch, how to pursue your dreams, how to believe in yourself, invest in yourself. But you have a way of communicating that it doesn't matter who you are, where you from, what economic status you live in, religious beliefs, color of skin, none of that matters. It just resonates. It cuts through all of that BS. And then it hits you right in the heart and in the mind. And you help people like me be confident in what it is they're pursuing to do, the dreams they have, even when they're broke, even when doors have been slammed in their face. So one of the things I always say to friends of mine that I work with, you are your best natural resource. Invest in that.
Yeah, you're so right. You're so right.
And I kind of bit that from you. I hope you don't mind, man. I hope that ain't no
Oh,
copyright infringement right there, Tony Robbins.
I'm going to start tweeting that and put Sway underneath it.
Okay, all right. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. So, how did it all happen? How did it all start for you, though? What you know?
Well, I grew up in a pretty tough environment myself. No money, no food at times. In fact, I wrote this book. In the middle of writing this book, I decided I had Thanksgiving where there was literally no food, and my family was fed by some strangers. And I'll never forget the day. It changed my life because it made me believe strangers care. So it made me start to care about strangers. And I swore someday I'd find a way to give back. So I want to know every answer. I hate suffering because I've experienced it. My friends have experienced it. My family did. So I wanted answers. What do you do to change your body? What do you do to change your mind? What do you do to change your emotions? What do you do to change your economics? And I became obsessed. I've been obsessed for 37 years. But I try to pay it forward. So I've fed now 42 million people. Started feeding 2 people, then 4 the next year, then 8. And this year I decided I thought, I don't know if you know, but they cut food stamps. They don't call it food stamps anymore, but by 8.7 billion. We used to live on that, my family.
So did ours.
And I was like, are you kidding me? 2 million people just disappear like that. Like they disappear. And I feed people every year. I feed 2 million people through my foundation. I do 2 million, I match it. And I'm really proud to be able to do that, to pay it forward. So I've fed 42 million people in my life. This year I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this book. I'm going to write a book that changes anybody's life. I don't care where they are, just beginning the journey. They're in trouble, they can turn it around. And I thought, I'm going to donate all the profits in advance. How many people could I feed? And I found I could feed 10 million people with all that I was getting. So then it got bigger. So I'm feeding 50 million people starting a week from now with Feeding America. And I'm getting them to work with matching funds so we feed 100 million people. So I'm going to go from a guy that had no food to be able to help 100 million people. It's pretty exciting.
Tony Robbins, man. Let me ask you this. If you as one individual can feed 100 million people, why are there still people starving on this planet?
Well, I think there's plenty of resources, man. I just think the unfortunate part is people think about themselves.
Yeah.
And the worst part about that is there's nothing worse than an angry rich man or an angry rich woman. They got all the resources in the world, but what they've forgotten is they expect everything. I tell people, you want to change your life and you have no money, it doesn't matter. Trade expectation for appreciation.
Yeah.
And your whole life changes. Because you can have $1 billion, and if every day you're pissed off and frustrated and angry, your life's pissed off, frustrated, and angry, that's the quality of your life. But if you have nothing, I've been there plenty of times, but you're grateful for what you have, you're rich. I mean, you really do. You have more joy than they do. So I think it starts with becoming emotionally rich, and then it's coming up with a plan and deciding you're going to master this area of your life, not dabbling, but saying, I'm going to kick its ass. I'm going to figure this thing out. And that's what I did.
Title of the book is Money Master the Game: 7 Simple Steps to Financial Freedom. Real quick, Tracy was talking to Heather B about giving to bums on the street. Homeless, excuse me, I'm sorry.
Not bums, wait. Tony's here. We can't
Tony,
use
can
our
you use those words
language.
with Tony here? Oh,
I'm
all
trying
right.
to take care of these
though.
people. They can't be bums, man.
Okay, my bad. Heather has a theory on that.
You can't give to everybody, Tony. I'm just being honest, my way,
true.
because I see the same people all the time. And one
Yes.
day I walked past a homeless guy, or not sure if he's homeless, a guy who's always at Port Authority.
Yes.
And he was smoking cigarettes. And I was like, cigarettes are $12 a pack.
Yes.
I don't even have enough for cigarettes. How am I feeding your habit? So I'm kind of selective about who I give money to.
I don't think that's wrong. I think putting your money where you think it's going to really make a difference is smart. I have a different philosophy, but my philosophy started early on because I met this man who mentored me, and he said, look, Tony, he goes, if you go there and somebody asks you for some money, if you got it, he said, you got two choices. Evaluate them, and you might be wrong. You might think this person's just going to go smoke crack with us or something. But my view is, if I got it, I give it. It's not for me. Let God decide that.
Yeah.
If I have the ability, then I'm going to do it. Now, some people are mad if you don't have more and things like that. And I just, that's part of life as far as I'm concerned. But I try to direct my money, obviously, to people that are going to be resourceful. They're going to do that and grow it, help their family, make something happen. But, those daily experiences, I think they really matter. I had a guy one time, I'll never forget, I was in Boston. It was like midnight. And this guy is wobbling back and forth across, between the street and the sidewalk. And he's drunk as hell, you could tell. And I thought, this guy, I know he's going to beg me for some money. And then sure enough, he gets real close to me and all of a sudden pops his head and goes, Mister. He said, would you loan me a quarter? He just stoned out of his mind, right? And I looked at him, I thought, do I want to reinforce this behavior, just like you said? At the same time, I thought, I don't want him to suffer. So I thought, maybe I can teach him a lesson. So I said, is that all you want, a quarter? He said, yeah, just a quarter. A quarter changed my whole life. One quarter changed my whole life. So I reached in my pocket, I pulled out my billfold, and I made sure there was hundreds on the outside, right? Made sure he saw the hundreds, reached under it, got a quarter. Put my money back in my pocket. And he's watching that hand. He's watching it go back in the pocket. He sees the quarter. I put the quarter in his hand, and I said, life will pay whatever price you ask of it. And then he stared at me, looked back at my pocket, looked at the quarter, looked back at my pocket, looked at me and said, you're weird. I think I was a total failure, man.
I'm not sure if that one paid off, Tony. All right, Tony Robbins is here.